There is a country in Africa known as Djibouti, and despite the fact that it is extremely underdeveloped and impoverished, the majority of the wealthy countries in the globe have been quite generous in their help to Djibouti for a very long period. Over the course of the past century, the United States and France, the greatest military bases in the world, have been constructed here by Japan and other countries, and even offered Djibouti assistance of more than $100 billion in US currency. Nevertheless, despite this, the United States and France are powerless to alter the course of this country. The living conditions in Djibouti did not begin to improve until China made an investment of $57 billion over a period of 10 years to construct vast amounts of infrastructure in Djibouti. Why does a country as needy as Djibouti in Africa receive such a significant amount of money from the state? What benefit did they receive from China? Before we go on, subscribe to Cha News to watch about the most shocking and amazing world projects. You won't regret it. Ready? Let's begin. The Republic of Djibouti can be found in Northeast Africa, on the western bank of the Gulf of Aden. The country only has a total population of 940,000 people, while having a land area of 23,200 square kilometers. It is a typical small country found in Africa's pocket regions. Djibouti was a French colony when it was first founded, but in 1977 it gained its independence and became a sovereign state. After a long time of development, the amount of available resources in the country is still insufficient. In addition to this, its industrial growth is somewhat dated. With a per capita income of less than $2,000 in United States dollars, the overall economic development of the country is moving at a relatively modest pace. It is on the list. The United Nations classifies this nation as one of the world's poorest countries. Even though it is one of the poorest countries in the world, Djibouti has for a long time captured the interest of many different nations. Even countries such as France, the United States, Japan, Italy, and others have begun making significant financial investments in this country and offering aid there. Apparently, based on the numbers, from 2003 to 2013, the annual rent for France's military bases in Djibouti was 30 million euros, which was paid by France to Djibouti. Djibouti received a total of approximately $380 million worth of help from France, which included various forms of assistance. Later on, the United States started giving Djibouti a sizable amount of aid as well. At the same time, this French assistance began to decrease but still accounted for 1/3 of the total, up until the attacks of September 11, 2001. Under the guise of fighting terrorism, the United States government sanctioned the construction of the Le Monnier military base in Djibouti. By the year 2012, the Congress of the United States has recommended assistance. Over the next 25 years, the Le Monnier base will receive $1.4 billion in United States dollars. Following the establishment of military outposts in Djibouti by these countries, along with the United States, Japan started concentrating its efforts on Djibouti about the same time. Japan has found a reason to battle against pirates from Somalia. Beginning in 2009, according to the aforementioned information, Japan constructed an official naval facility in Djibouti and paid a military base rent as well as aid funding totaling 35 million United States dollars. It's possible that these countries have been providing assistance to Djibouti. The question, therefore, is why a nation with such a low standard of living is attracting so much attention. To be certain, Djibouti may be a small country with a low standard of living, but its location at the crossroads of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden gives it a strategic significance that belies its poverty and the fact that it holds a singularly advantageous position. It is the sole location through which the Suez Canal can be navigated, and it is also a significant commercial thoroughfare connecting Europe and Asia. Many nations currently have an increased demand for shipping services. In addition, the port of Djibouti is able to provide these ships with supplies. As a consequence of this, Djibouti is sometimes referred to as the sentinel on the oil channel. Djibouti's strategic location has piqued the interest of a great number of countries. They have come to this conclusion. Djibouti hosts a number of military bases. In addition to this, Djibouti is able to confine East Africa because it is located at the Horn of Africa, North Africa and Central Africa, as well as having the ability to easily repress actions in Sudan, Congo, and Somalia, concurrently with one another. Djibouti is not only the ideal spot for any country in the world to launch conflicts, but it is also the best place to ensure security. Additionally, Djibouti is able to echo Yemen from a distance as well. The distance from one side to the other, measured in a direct line, is less than 30 kilometers, which possesses a significant competitive edge with regard to the control of the Arabian Peninsula. To establish a military presence in the Middle East by establishing a base there, Djibouti is without a doubt the best possible location. Despite the fact that France, the United States of America, Japan, and other nations are investing enormous quantities of money in the construction of bases in Djibouti, same nations are also providing various forms of assistance and financial support for the country's growth. However, Djibouti's overall development has essentially come to a standstill. For instance, Djibouti continued its outward growth throughout the period in which it worked closely with the United States. However, just a few light industries came into existence as a result. Reprocessing. Small. The tanning and processing of leather can be found here. Both the heavy industry and agriculture, which are the pillars upon which the economy is built, have not much improved and continue to rely on imports. The standard of living for the people in Djibouti is still far lower than it should be. Are disadvantaged despite receiving aid from the United States of America and a great number of other countries. Why has Djibouti's development remained so sluggish after all these years? You've probably come across the proverb that goes, "I think you are doing well, but I don't want you to be better than me." If you give it some critical consideration, you'll see that this clause makes a lot of sense. Examining the past of several countries, including France, the United States of America, Japan, and others, we can see that the primary focus of their foreign policy is on protecting their own interests. If you can hold your own, then we can be buddies. If you are vulnerable, though, you will be picked on by bullies, perhaps in the opinions of these nations. Despite the fact that they have supplied the military and Djibouti is treated as little more than a chess piece by those who provide economic aid to the country. Therefore, for more than a century and a half, the assistance of Western nations like the United States has not been necessary for the development of Djibouti. The primary justification for this is that they have no desire to advance Djibouti's infrastructure. Genuinely and from the depths of their hearts, Djibouti did not start going through any kind of transition until China started giving them money. Therefore, what actions did China take in Djibouti as far back as? Djibouti was scheduled to get aid from China in the amount of $570 US throughout the next 10 years, according to plans made in 2011. The vast majority of these monies were put toward the construction of various projects, including railroads, ports, reservoirs, highways, and more. The manner in which China provides assistance is entirely distinct from that utilized by Western nations. Djibouti is receiving careful consideration from China because there is an extremely severe lack of access to sources of fresh water in Djibouti. Only 52.5% of the people can be provided with sufficient drinking water, and some hotels, with deplorable living circumstances, can only use seawater that has been diluted, which is not sufficient for people's needs. Because of this, China has constructed a great number of reservoirs in the surrounding area, which has directly improved the problem of people lacking access to clean drinking water in the area. In addition to these, Djibouti is lacking in the area agricultural, rural, and industrial growth, in addition to the electricity infrastructure, are all comparatively behind. Therefore, in order to bring about a fundamental shift in the nation, additional infrastructure needs to be constructed. However, this is a massive undertaking that won't be finished for almost a decade. China has never been a country that shies away from adversity, and this is despite the fact that the conditions in this region are severe, in order to drastically enhance the quality of their lives. Additionally, China has made arrangements for a significant number of Chinese people to teach these countries various planting techniques, infrastructure techniques, and other procedures. Over the past few years, the Djibouti Port project, which was funded by China, is almost entirely finished with its construction. It is impossible to divorce China from the process of developing the local agricultural sector and port facilities, and additionally, the construction of its railways and airports has received aid from the Chinese government. In 2017, the Djibouti International Free Trade Zone project, which is being backed by Chinese companies, has finally been given the green light. In addition, it is scheduled to be finished and placed into operation in 2018. China has provided several job opportunities for the people of Djibouti as it has been constructing various pieces of Djibouti's infrastructure. Over the course of time, the help provided by China to Djibouti's total assets now exceed $100 billion US. I am currently strolling through the streets of Djibouti. Everywhere you look, there are shadows that were manufactured in China. These are the ones in question. The tiny African nation of Djibouti has benefited tremendously from China's hospitality and goodwill. China has been working together with a number of underdeveloped nations and offering a significant amount of help to these nations. Similar to a great number of African countries, after obtaining assistance from China, tectonically significant shifts have taken place. However, China will not give up and will continue to assist the development of other nations. Thanks for watching. Click on these videos to watch about another amazing project you didn't know about.